I'm going to add just a tad bit of thickness to it. So if I click on just one edge, it'll give me the whole border edge on this one. And just slightly extrude this out to give me a little bit of thickness to work with. Okay? Now when we go and we duplicate this object back around on itself, I want it still to have nothing in the inside. It needs to be hollow. So any place where it's going to reconnect back to itself, I need to delete those faces. So I'll just get rid of those. Okay. So that's our one section of the rim. Okay? And I also chose the spoke. Again, I didn't choose one that was at an angle or anything like that. I chose one that was perfectly set on axis. Something that I can easily manipulate, staying true to the axis that I want to manipulate. So I can add some volume to this moving forward quite easily. If I need to taper it in at all, I know I'm working in a symmetrical manner where I don't have to fight against the grilled scaling or the optic scaling. It's right on the origin. Okay. So when we go and we smooth this, we can see that's not holding its shape. I'm going to add a few edges in to help it hold that shape. Probably need one right here. Probably one right there. Maybe right there. And maybe you need something like that. Okay? You can see that's holding its shape a little bit better. And I could go and I could do the other side if I wanted to. Or I could just get rid of this side, and essentially I'm working on now, yeah, a 1/12 of my rim, right? The only thing I need to remember is when I dupe this to the other side, when I mirror it, I need to get rid of the excess. I need to get rid of one division here, and I need to also get rid of one division here because there's an odd number. So I only need one and two within this area. So these two over here and this one. If not, they're going to be on top of themselves. Yeah, John.
Those vertical edge loops, won't that cause that same problem we had earlier about the roundness being?
Yeah, so you can already see that, right? You can see that's pinching up there a little bit. You see that's not round right there, right? So what I need to do is I need to put an edge in that will allow me to condense my geometry or de-res it before it reaches that edge. Okay? So if I can de-res it before it hits the arc of the cylinder, it's not going to affect it. So let's do that right now. I'm going to put, I know I'm going to need an edge somewhere in here for it to hold its shape there. At some point we know it's going to need one there, but I need to prevent it from getting to that edge. So I'm going to put an extra edge in the center that's going to allow me to de-res. Okay? This edge here, I don't want to touch. This is allowing it to hold its shape in this area. But this extra one again in the center is a great place for me to collapse my geo. Anytime there's three edges along, right? You got three vertices and you have three edges, you can always pinch them together, delete the center edge, which this is a quad, it's just ugly. And then you can easily get rid of the two on the sides. So you've taken three and you've collapsed it into one, remaining quads. And when you choose which one you collapse to, in this case, depending on how your geo's routed, you always want to leave the edge that was there from the initial cylinder, because that's the one that calculated and said this is the position it needs to be at, the distance from one to another to actually form a perfect cylinder. So I want to get rid of the ones on the sides. If I kept one of these, it's not going to smooth correctly. So I'm just going to get rid of these. We should notice that should keep our cylinder shape. Okay. Does that make that good?
So where's that? Where does that edge loop go? The one that's
This one down here.
I mean, on the top, there's like one up yet.
Here?
Yeah.
That one's just chilling back there for right now.
Is there a backside to this?
No, not yet.
Oh.
A lot of times I'll just make one. Obviously the back part of a rim is a little bit different than the front a lot of times. I'll usually just start with the front, make as much as I need to. At some point I will dupe it and then create the back. That's if you're going to see anything. A lot of times the back is just really this simplified minus some of the kind of extra bling that you might see. Okay, so here we go, we're good there. I mean, I could fix this triangle problem here simply by moving this edge here, merging it, and deleting that one edge. Now I got another quad. I'm going to need a few other things. I'm probably going to need an edge in here. And on this, chances are, to soften this transition, I'm going to move this one down a little bit. That's not going to affect the curvature at all. This is all happening on a flat space. But just by moving that down, that should have a nicer curve than that part of the rim, which is how mine is. Okay. If you want to be real particular about that transition, you can see that those edges did pop a little bit, so I could take that one out and then re-put that edge back in. To give it a little bit smoother transition in there if you needed it. Okay. You know, where this, I don't want to move. Well, actually, it wouldn't matter. I could move this one as well, where I'm going to dupe it, but I'm just going to. I think I'm going to just keep all that like that. That's fine. Okay. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to freeze this and give myself the other half that I needed. I'm going to go ahead and combine that. And then you still have to merge it and get rid of the excess that I needed. So I'm back to 1/6 of my geo. Okay? Again, we probably have some issues there, which we should address. So how do I get my other geo where I want? If this thing's completely on center, you really don't need to move your pivot. I personally like moving it right here on the center of the spoke. And with it just like this, you go save as.
I have a question.
Yeah, Derek.
Why did you delete that one edge on the other side if you've got two? It seems like you made it uneven.
I did, yeah,
Okay.
because this here, I mean, you'll see, like, here, I'll just dupe one. So when I'm putting that around, that 5's an end there.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if I left 3 on both sides, you know, because of how it was broken up, I'd have extra faces.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and dupe this, and there's a special tool to do that called Duplicate Special. So it's just under Edit, Dupe Special, and I'm going to click on the little box. Okay? And all you do is, we worked on 1/6 of this. If you had Well, 1/20th, you would calculate, 360 divided by 20 is this, okay? Well, yeah, multiplied by pi and cubed or something. It's just however much you worked on, 360 divided what part you did.
Good.
So I did 1/6, so 360 divided by 6 is 60, so I put that in the rotation, and you always want one less than what you had, or what you need, excuse me. So you need 6, I only need 5 copies, so I type in 5, and I dupe it. Now, these are all separate objects, they still need to be combined. You do have the option to add them all as instances, which means if you changed anything on the one, it would also update on all the others. Some people like that. I honestly don't like it. I find that I can just work faster this way. And but you can do it that way too. When you're working in you're building your games and stuff, nothing really exists in the game space or in the engine. It all exists in a library or folder database type thing, and everything that's in the game is just an instance or a reference of what's in a library somewhere. It's not actually there. Okay. They're cool if you want to work with them. I don't like modeling with them. Just be aware. Probably when you're working in your game engine, that's how it functions. It functions and reads everything as an instance, which is a cool thing. So if somebody changes something on an object or changes a texture, next time you load your level, you don't have to go find the new texture, the new this or the new that. It will just auto-update because this is referencing what was being edited. You don't even need to know where it's at. Frankly, you probably don't. You probably won't even know where it's at. It's in 20 folders deep somewhere. But you just do it like this. So I'm going to go ahead and combine these. And purge those. Okay. So you should see this is starting to look pretty decent. It's alright.
It seems better.
Me too. The thing is, we can see that this has a little bit of an issue here. I can tell that that's not round. The reason why is I moved this over, so this doesn't have the correct amount of vertices for that arc in there, so I'm going to have to adjust that. I already know that. Okay. I also need to, fix this area. But now that I have really what I want, I'm going to look at this probably a little bit differently now. And really what I want is one of these guys. Okay, so now I actually have the part, but I have a different 1/6 of my thing. And the reason why I want this part is I want to do what's in between the spokes, and to get this in here, it's a little bit easier if I have a full thing to work with. I think maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. And for me, I like to have this thing kind of up where it should be. Even though this doesn't match anymore, I have this, vertical, so that's the Assassin's Creed, my Assassin's Creed logo. It's close, huh?
Yep. Good job.
Except it's upside down? I think it's upside down. Yeah.
I can hardly tell you.
Just rotate your camera.
Yeah.
So how do you set a pivot point for components?
For what?
For components? Like if you select a couple edges, how do you set the pivot point for that? Because every time I go out of the pivot point movement, it just resets the pivot point.
So so if I wanted to move the pivot for these, you just hold D and then or you could do insert and then snap it to where you want it. But yeah, it's per component. So like if you move the pivot point of a component for the move tool, and then you switch to your rotate tool, it's not going to be there. So if you need to move the pivot for this for rotate, you need to go to rotate first, then move the pivot for that. They're all independent. And if it's acting funky, like after you do it, because it should always, by default, it should re-snap back to the center of your selection, just go back into your tool over here and reset it. Sometimes it does get a little even more of a problem, like it won't ever go back the way it should, and if that's ever the case, then the only way that I know how to reset it is you just save what you have, close Maya, and then reopen it, and it should be back to its normal function. But yeah, all those component pivots they're not linked together. They all function independently. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of those and grab this edge and scale this in a little bit. And I think I'm just going to attempt to line this up. Like that works. I think these, once I put that in, that's going to be a little close, so I'm going to get rid of those and just redraw that. Okay, so I just scaled that in to give that nice look. These probably, I'm trying to judge that, probably goes back a little bit more. Maybe something like that. I'm just eyeballing. I got a bad picture that I can't really get a full sense of how much depth it has, so I'm just kind of eyeballing it. Same thing applies regardless of what you're doing. I would then bring in, I want to bring in a new cylinder that I can fix that problem. Okay. And I know the issue is on here, so I just need to figure out, maybe it is 30, I need one here. So I just need to figure out how many. How many we need. Let's see, we could do 1, 2, 3. These are where I need those. So maybe if I did 60, this looks like it lines up pretty decent. So I'm just going to grab these vertices. And if this is something you want to be super particular about, you literally could take it and snap it to it if you wanted to. I think I'll probably be okay. Oops. And I'm gonna need to split this. Okay, so I just have this lined up. And again, if you wanted something utterly perfect, you could just snap the vertices to your cylinder that you're using as a guide. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and split this one down the center.
How would you do
The what?
that? The split down the center.
I just added an edge utility. So if you select any edge and then shift control right click edge utility, edge ring splits it directly down the center in between the two. I'm now going to get rid of these, and I'm back to. Oops, looks like I deleted something I didn't want to. Pull that back and merge it. So I'm back to what, a 12th again. I'll dupe these. Oops. Make sure it's. I need to freeze that first. It's also rotating. So freeze this first. There we go. Dupe it. There we go. Combine this. Merge those, and then I need to get rid of this edge that I added to be able to mirror it, because that's something that would change its topo. I'm going to add one supporting edge right here. I think on mine I'm just going to kind of push that up just a little bit so it's a little bit more prevalent. Right there. You should be able to extrude out, bring out the rest of that rim. Did not need one there. Okay, so that's not too bad. Now that I have this one, I think I'm liking this. Oops, I moved that on accident. It looks like this next part, and this could just be the shadowing. It looks like this next part does come down a little bit more, so I could bring it down like this, move the pivot here, turn retain component spacing on, and that's going to allow it to keep its shape here. So I want it to come down, but I want it to pretty much be planar with that. So I'll give it keep its slope, but I've moved it all down to match another vertex without having it all fall on itself. So maybe that's something you want to add. So I don't know if that's a little bit more. I just eyeballed it. It looks like it's pretty good. Okay, so now that I feel like I have a decent portion of this rim done, that I think is probably what I want, I don't need to go back into my dupe special and actually type everything in. It holds the last bit that you put in. So all I have to do is come down and click on dupe special. It'll recreate the rest of it based on the last inputs that you supplied it. Just combined it. Let's merge it. This should all be good. It looks like I'm actually missing vertices. I probably should have deleted that whole thing, honestly. So I have this part here, which for here is fine, but if I want to have anything in between, I would need to push this back. I would need to bring in another cylinder and make sure that my space distribution was, or edge distribution was correct again. think I'm missing one part that I wanted to add though. Let's see, rotate this. Let's rotate this 30. Actually, I'm missing before I dupe it. No, we'll just do it this way. Okay. Just combine these again. And rotate this back up to 30. Okay, if you wanted to add that cool little part on here that it kind of comes out a little bit, I think it does something like that. I just want to grab just this part. I don't want to throw anything off behind it. So maybe it's like this. Okay. Okay, let me test that. Maybe it's just a little bowing action that you wanted to add for some reason. A little bowing action, yeah. And then I have the part that I want, if that's something I want to keep. Same thing, just get rid of the rest. Like, you know, maybe this would be an actual instance where if I had copy as an instance would have been, if I had copy as an instance on, the rest of the parts would have also added that interactively. At the end, I would still need to combine everything to one object, which you can do. I don't know, I'm just in the habit of kind of going about it like this. So maybe it's bad, but it might not be the most optimal way. I think that's right. Do special. Oh, looks like I missed one. Alright, I did one too many. Okay, and let's just bring this out just a little bit. We put another edge loop here. Something like that. And kind of shrink this in just a little bit. Probably needs a couple right there to hold it. So the thing is, this would require in here a little bit of, I know there's going to be some type of cleanup that's going to have to be done. I can easily click on an edge, double click, and it'll tell me up here in the corner, I have 48. So that's helpful. I can then just come in and bring in a new cylinder, and I know I need 48. So that's another thing that I use that for. And now I know where these edges need to, I know where they need to line up now. So I'm going to go ahead and just click this back. And literally here I just need to grab and put these at the correct points. And I know it's going to be a cylinder again, and the inside. I don't need to do more than half. I can just double click. I can click one if you have radio loop geometry again. I can select one edge, shift, double click the next one, give me the whole edge. Now these are not connected anymore. I can just double click anywhere. It'll give me the whole thing and delete it. Now I just come back and recent commands, duplicate special, combine them, merge them, and we did all that. So now we know we're back to a perfect cylinder in here that we can now use to do whatever you want to in here. Maybe just bring in a little bit like this and bring it on back. Maybe just add a couple cool little edge loops right here to have it hold its shape. Doesn't look too shabby. Cutting in the parts for the bolts and stuff. You might find that you're not able to boolean them. So we could extrude, and say you try to boolean those points in and they're not working because it's too complicated. Just select the faces, okay? Extract faces, hit Q. I now have two separate objects. These vertices have to match up. They're gonna match up. I extracted it from them. Just don't touch them, right? So, actually before I do that, what would be smarter for me to do is bring this in. Give myself that, okay? So now I actually have some geo to work with. Bring in a cylinder. Give this something like, 8 sides. You only need 8. And let's just try to line one up real quick. Okay, maybe this is where it's at. Okay. So I'm going to bring this in past that because I'm going to have, again, geo for this to be able to connect to. So I want to have a place where if I need to continue any type of round area in here, like another indentation or this little nub, I need to have radio geometry to be able to do that. I don't want to ruin it. So let's just see if we can boolean this. Yeah, we did just fine. Okay. And then I just need to fix this up, Same thing as you did before. We just need to continue these edges or these lines. Okay, so I need to. It's not going to go there, but I can come here and just. It doesn't know how to divide that, but I can just simply tell it when it's past that point. Okay. Come in. Clean that up. It doesn't matter where that ends. It doesn't matter where that ends. They're not things that affect there's things that don't affect the roundness, right? So here's obviously I didn't do the whole other side, but you get the idea. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to take this and delete these faces. I only want to get be fine. And here, you know, we run into the similar problem where we have a triangle. Let's just reroute that. And it looks like we're okay again. So this will be where that takes place. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to do, well, you could. You probably could figure it out how you wanted to get it to dupe around. If you, actually, I just want, what, negative z? Okay. Combine these. And then we need to dupe negative y. So we got two holes. But it's the same thing as, you know, we did on the laptop, honestly, is that you just get this little part right here. Maybe you're going to take it to this. So here's this little section, right? And I'm going to go ahead and duplicate those faces. And now I just need to find where this goes off. How many times does 5 go into 360?
72.
72, right? So let's just take this and rotate it 72 degrees. Hit Control D, give us 72 plus 72 is
Just freeze it.
what is it? 144. There's the holes. This bottom one here we don't need. Let me get rid of this. Okay. So our holes are in place. I just need to figure keep hitting the wrong button. I just need to figure where these connect and get rid of what's in between. You know, maybe there's a little bit better mathematical solution where I just find out how many I need on each side and rotate it correctly. Maybe that'd be a little bit better, probably. And then stitch it together and you're done. So, but this would give me my holes. I mean, that could be a little bit tricky. Is, you know, here you have an odd number, but again, I had one thing. I'm just isolating that one thing I want. I'm not going to go and try to create it 5 times or 6 times. If you like when you're looking at your rim, if you have a rim that has 50 spokes, it's like, oh my gosh, this thing's 10 times crazier, 10 times more complicated. But the reality is instead of creating 1/6 of something, you're only creating 1/50 of something. So if you look at it the right way, it might even be easier. So I don't need everybody's rims looking like bicycles now, but you know, just create what you need. And it's just there's a thought process to creating these objects. The biggest thing, everyone's going to make something different, rim-wise. Everyone's rims aren't the same. The most important thing is selecting the right amount of divisions on your cylinder when you start. If you don't get that right, you're going to have to keep on spawning new cylinders that you're re-snapping to get the right distance and position for those vertices, or it's not going to stay round. So make sure on your initial selection, maybe that takes 2, 3, 4 times, getting the right amount of divisions, so you get the right spacing. So select the right amount, and then from there, just isolate the part that you need. Don't be afraid to, you know, duplicate. Keep deleting stuff, so you're only working on a section. That keeps it uniform too. Cool. So yeah, John. So do that. Oh, one second. Just that's all you got to do tonight. Is just make your rim. Tomorrow we'll make the tire that goes on it. And based on if you've got this part down, the tire's probably a little bit easier. There.
So if you were, would you be able to like double the amount of subdivision or just shift delete the edges you didn't need? That way you wouldn't have to go in and reroute your edges. Because I was trying to work on mine while you were doing yours and I ended up just deleting it because of how the edges didn't line up.
I think that, I don't know, that might,
Would it be easier to like reduce the geometry when you think too much at first or?
I don't know, let me try real quick. So say we